Hi, my early birds. How are y'all doing today?
It looks like everybody's here. Everybody's ready.
Yeah, yeah. So, I know we always say the time, but I understand the check in technology earlier because I always have to do it too. Like I get off of work at 5. So it's that quick thing to close down everything else and all the other browsers, make sure the Zoom is working,
Just
just testing it all out.
yeah.
So,
So you can hear me okay? Everything's good.
oh yeah, yeah, you sound good.
Perfect.
So
So
how's
Lee, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Very good. I met Lee in Kansas City,
okay,
2013. He's one of
okay.
those keynote speakers.
It
So
was a while ago.
yeah, Region 6. I was a board member with the Austin chapter.
Oh, okay.
Kansas, so Wichita, I've been in a lot of contact with the Wichita, Kansas chapter.
They're great people, and in
Oh
fact,
yeah,
they had a major storm when we went there, and the mayor came to the chapter, and he was presenting for us that night.
that was wild. So like, there's 3 people on their board that I know, and I remember like I was at a McDonald's getting a coffee, and I saw the news flash, and I was like, well, let me just. I've got them on LinkedIn. Let me take a random shot. I was like, it probably wasn't them. But one of the people that was involved told me that he and his family had to actually drive away from the hurricane. The other one had a picture from his father-in-law. So it shows the funnel cloud really clearly. And I was like, wow, my mind is just blown because sometimes you don't think that you know people in that instance. But I remember even a few years ago when we had the hurricanes here, I had people from other places going, hey, are you okay?
You
And I
have,
was like,
yeah,
Lafayette's fine, but Baton Rouge got it, and Homa really got it. And
right. Can I share my screen just to test?
absolutely.
Got too many things open. Let me close.
Yes, we can see it.
And you're gonna drive the chat, so because I cannot multitask.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I've seen it before and I'm in awe of that. Like we've had 2 speakers this year that could do the talking and the monitoring the chat and full transparency, even when it really gets started. Sometimes us at the board, we're looking at the screen and trying to type and keep it up. But yes, we'll be happy to do it.
Are you gonna share anything? Because I can stop sharing.
Okay. We're still going to give it some more time. I would say, just because of the way that the communication went out, people are really anticipating it starting at
5:30.
5:35, 5:40. And, I'm actually going to give credit to Lee here because the beginning of our year, Lee talked for us and he cross promoted our chapter so much. So it was like the attendance really, really, really spiked. And it stuck, so because of that, I tend to see people join up a little bit later too. So I like to give it that lead time so they don't feel like they've missed
Well,
out.
actually, Lee has been promoting a lot of chapters, and
Yes.
I think you should give yourself, Tanya, some credit because you're out there on social media, promoting the chapter, which is really great.
We try to do as much as we can, and even a shout out to our members and our guests too. We've had a lot of luck because I've seen other people take action and share our messages too. Like I've even seen people that haven't been connected with the chapter before, they start sharing it, and that really opens up the visibility of it. And so I give full credit to a lot of that, just the combined effort that's helped us to really build. So when I checked the registration earlier, it was 219. If the data tells us anything this year, it's going to be about 60% attendance. That's what we see because there's some duplicate registrations, and then things happen that people can't join. But that's kind of why I like to give it a little
some
bit
of
of
them.
time.
Do you send the recording too?
Yes, we can. I'll get the Zoom later on tonight and I can email that to you. And we are going to put it on our website. There's a bit of a new process with YouTube that requires a little bit more collaboration on the back end. So I would say to people, maybe expect it, in a couple of days, a day or 2 at least after the event.
I think people register so they can get the recording. That's probably why.
Well, they still have to go to the website to do it. So for instance, we don't email them back afterwards, just because we have in person and we have virtual, and we're about to start up with special events. So just that level of email traffic, we've seen a lot of people unsubscribe because it's a cluttered and it's a busy world. So when I communicate that it's out there, I usually just put that on LinkedIn specifically and drive people to the website.
Perfect.
That way their email box is not to the
So,
top.
so Lee, did you attend the PMI virtual this year? That
Which
was
one?
the PMI virtual. That was last week, June the 9th.
Oh, no, I didn't. I was in, where was I? Philadelphia at a conference.
Awesome. Well, it was recorded. Yeah, that's true because it was recorded. I recorded mine last month, and I had to meet 3 times before doing the final recording, and it was really good learning curve for me. So it was good stuff.
Well, they had a good turnout for it.
Yes. What is it? I think they had more than, 40,000?
I think that
Oh,
was what
wow.
their target was, yeah.
Yeah.
They've had more. They've had 60,000 in the past.
That's amazing. I got to pop in for little pieces and parts of it, because it was wound up being a really busy day at work, but it was like I tried to kind of pop in and out. But I caught, now, as much as this may or may not relate to project management, the timeout for tapas with the lady that was cooking, that was something. So I know those sessions are recorded and we can go back. And I actually saw that I saw through somebody else's post that you were a presenter there. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to backtrack and I'm going to have to watch that on recording while I've got the chance. And for everybody on the line too, and I know we're being recorded right now, that was a virtual experience series that PMI Global put out last week on June the 9th, on Thursday. So I believe you can still register and watch it on demand. Not real sure, but I know if you did register, you would have gotten an emailed link with access to it. And that content does count for professional development units as well. And even though you're not seeing it in real time, you can kind of look through the agenda and pick topics that might appeal to you and your particular industry.
Like 17.5 PDUs, I think. There's a lot of great presentations.
Right. And a few things, I just wanted to announce, from a chapter perspective, because we've still got a little bit of time before everybody joins us.
We have all the time. This is happy hours. Come on.
Happy hours. Yeah, I know. We need to start motivating that a little bit more and telling people to either bring, their coffee, their beverage, their hat, some sort of fun theme or something to liven it up at
like
times.
the Jazz Fest,
Right. Yes, we'll bring Jazz Fest to it. But so the chapter is actually celebrating our 25th anniversary. The Baton Rouge chapter originated in 1997. And so we are actually, as a board, planning an event that we're looking at the possibility of September. That will be an in-person event, and that is envisioned to be in Baton Rouge. So maybe save that date. Details on that will be coming.
Definitely,
soon.
Because I really, I love Louisiana. I mean, there is so much to do, the music,
It is.
The people,
And we're actually going to have, so I talked to somebody from PMI Global this morning. They're actually, for the milestone anniversaries, sending somebody from the organization to talk to us from a global perspective. So it was AJ. He and I spoke this morning, kind of, like I said, in the process of planning. So that way he can plan his travel and the content that he's going to talk about as well. And in addition to that, we're planning a collaboration with the Dallas chapter for a Brand and Land session. Now that's something that's going to be taking place on Saturday, August 27th. It does count for 5 PDUs. It is completely virtual. And then the goal of that is going to be helping people with their LinkedIn, their resume, and also helping them to understand more about the applicant tracking system, the ATS that screens your resume before a pair of human eyes gets to it. I've
I
attended
think
the session.
I think that's going to be run through the Speakers Hub as well. I think John's going to be doing everything through the Speakers Hub from now on.
Okay. Okay. Could you explain a little bit more to me about that?
Well, the Speakers Hub is something Global's done this year, and we have a list of about 60 people who are willing to be speakers for
Right.
chapters, and those chapters will be reimbursed what they call an event reimbursement to pay partial towards the speakers. It was going to be $3,000 for speaker reimbursement, but we ran into some tax problems. So I had to change the wording so that we're giving the money to the chapter, then they can spend it on however they want, but generally speaking on that way. So I got about 18 of my buddies, and they're in there, and I think a bunch of others. There's about 60 names, I think, that are on the list. They've just gone out and got everybody to return a commitment letter this last week. So by probably in the next couple of weeks, that'll be rolling out. So everybody will be aware of it.
Well, that'll be good because I mean, I participate on the president's call on a monthly basis. I think they're not having one for July, just with the 4th of July holiday. But, I tune in for that every month to get the updates and check out the different resources that they've got and, try to share the energy as much with the local level as possible. I mean, on the local level, the mission really too is kind of to get people, engaged and learning kind of at an incremental pace more of what Global is about.
I don't know what they've done. I don't know what they've done publicly on the Speakers Hub. Maybe you shouldn't have heard what I just said. I don't know.
That's okay. That's all right.
The fact of the matter is, we've been working
me.
our butts off on that thing. It looks like we finally got it to come together. And
I think
the chapters are really excited about it.
I think Lee, you already recorded, so you can't backtrack.
It'll be all right. They'll be all right.
We've got it on tape, or whatever we call it now.
Advanced travel knowledge.
Yeah, whatever we call it.
Hey, I'm thrilled for the Speakers Hub. They talked about that at Leadership Institute in Orlando. Terrific idea. It's close.
It's
one of those things.
Yeah,
I know
that you can go there.
I know, right? Yeah, I mean, getting great content for our virtual series and even for our in-person series, right, is so important, right? It's super important to building our reach, to building kind of some of the messaging that goes on here, and it's one of the reasons why we've had great content. Lee, you were part of that. Ahmed, I'm so thrilled to have you here this evening. I've been very much looking forward to your presentation. It's great to see you. Great to meet you virtually. Virtual handshake.
Likewise.
And so, having great content and having a place that we can go to really kind of put together a great program, I think that's going to be huge, right? It's going to help other chapters to really kind of get what we've got, which is great reach, kind of a great community of knowledge sharing here. This has been terrific. Hey, Tanya. Good evening. I've been listening, and after I fired up the meeting, I've been listening. I had to get some things wrapped up at the end of my day.
No, I understand. And that's
glad I can finally
because
put
a
that
lot of
aside.
people, I think the meeting's at 5 o'clock because I'll get some of those messages saying it hasn't started. It's like, no, it's 5:30 because a lot of people do. I mean, even when you're working from home,
right,
a lot of people's end time to their workday syncs up right at 5:30, right at 5 o'clock. So it's just that transition time for us as the board, who work other jobs too, to get prepared.
It's got it. And it's really my fault. All I need to do is start my day 30 minutes earlier, and that means I can finish it 30 minutes earlier, right? It's that simple.
That's the way it works. I'm pretty sure.
It never works out like that. You do it early, you just get extended longer. That's the way that plays out.
Right.
So well, we've got up to 52 participants right now. We're still at about 5:33. Got Lakita from Indianapolis. Hi, it's Ravine. And Ravine, am I pronouncing your name Raven? Is it Raven or Ravine?
Ravine.
It's Raven.
Raven. Okay. And I know I've seen you on here before. Where are you geographically located?
Virginia.
Virginia. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, And I know that's one thing we always encourage in the chat too, is people to tell us where they're from. And we've got a lot of data captured from the past ones, but today, and this can be even as Ahmed goes through his presentation, I really just wanted to encourage you to share what the value of the chapter is, whether it's this chapter specifically or PMI, or what it is that keeps you joining, what has helped you, because we're always looking for ideas and we're looking for ways to give back to our members and our guests and keep the content flowing and know what it is that you guys want to hear, because project management covers a lot of diverse industries and a very global perspective. So sometimes hearing that feedback helps us with idea generation for the future.
Hey, you guys, I'm having a 4th of July party in Dubai if you want to join me.
What time are y'all doing the fireworks?
Barely.
Yeah, I don't know if they celebrate it quite the same as we do.
I think they do.
Booking my flight now.
So Tanya, speaking about introduction, I'd like to see everybody telling us your name and where you calling from. So that would be really nice. And if you are a project manager, and and how did you hear about PMI Baton Rouge and stuff like that?
Absolutely.
Let's see the chat, Tanya.
Let's see. Right now, I'm only seeing a couple of messages. Okay. Deviani from Baton Rouge. Carla from Newport News is a product development solutions manager. Everybody's being shy tonight.
Tell us about yourself. Light up the chat. There we go.
Now it's okay. All right. Elizabeth from Baton Rouge, working at Cambria Solutions. Efrion from Reston, Virginia, and he's a longtime PN. Vivek from the St. Louis area. Robert Daniel from Pearland, just south of Houston. I know you and Lucille have been joining us quite a bit. And then Stephen Naylor from Baton Rouge in the industrial space. Jay Mahesh from Baton Rouge, a regulatory compliance specialist. Jonathan from Baton Rouge. Jonathan, good to see you. I know we used to always see each other in person, so it's great to see you again. And then Paul Skinner from Houston. And I know Paul just got his PMI ACP.
Oh, wonderful. Congratulations, Paul.
And Jason from San Antonio, he's been joining us since Kevin Martin presented. And that was back, I think that was at the very beginning of 2021.
Wonderful. Hello, Jason.
Cassie from Baton Rouge, Cassie from Arnoldville, Mitten from Baton Rouge, Julie from Oshner from Baton Rouge, Albert from Baton Rouge, and Malika from Baton Rouge. So now we're getting a whole bunch of. And two, I would like to encourage each of you, as people comment in this chat, if y'all look through it and see somebody that you've got a commonality with, I mean, I know that's hard to decipher in a 1-hour virtual setting, but just even based on locale, yep. I always I try to motivate people to be extroverts, because that's me, total extrovert. And I just go connect on LinkedIn.
Agreed. And I was going to say, just put your LinkedIn profile on the chat and,
yes.
Connect, guys. You got to connect. That's part of that.
Somebody give me an idea. James Firvelos from Las Vegas. So speaking of Las Vegas, and this is kind of for everybody too. So those of you that have seen, the feed or LinkedIn know that Jared and I went to Orlando at the end of March. That was a board specific meeting. Got to see Lee there. PMI Global is putting on their big global event, which is going to be in Las Vegas. That's going to be November 30th through December 3rd. They have communicated it that they're opening it up to everybody. Now there's a cost, there's a ticket. We're waiting on what those costs will be. That will be communicated through the national site on pmi.org. But anybody who has got the availability, wants to go to that, can make the arrangements. That is something that they're opening up to practitioners who are interested in that.
Yep, that's absolutely great networking opportunities,
Absolutely. The last global I went to was October 2019, and having that right before the pandemic gave me contacts to talk to friends in Ecuador, different areas, and get their experience on what they were seeing from the pandemic. So
And that was in Philadelphia or Pennsylvania?
that was in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yes. Everett, you're originally from Ecuador. Okay, I know a discipline agile specialist. Actually, he's moved to the States since then. So all the change with the pandemic. Well, let me see. And Jared, I said Brandon Land is going to be in August. I saw your message. We were trying for the Brandon Land in July, but there wasn't enough lead time to communicate the early bird pricing on that for members and guests. So we're shooting for the August 27th because Dallas hosts it every month. So
27th, got it. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for that. I just wanted to get it on my event calendar here.
No, more to come. I'm
Our
finalizing the
calendar.
pricing and the
Yeah.
details, and then I'll start sending out those communications so people can bookmark it and understand. And like I said, that does have a cost to it because of what it is, but it's very, very low cost. And it's, like I said, and Paul Skinner, I know you've been in that before too, for the Brandon Land. There's a whole lot of value to it.
So Bunny, you want to say some housekeeping or,
So just general housekeeping. I'd like to say hi, Tanya Boyd, for those of you that haven't met me before. I know we've got a lot of people that are joining us. We're up to 67 right now. We'll probably have more to join throughout. I'm the president of the Baton Rouge PMI chapter. We've been operating virtually for a while. We'll be coming back to Lafayette later this month. I'll tell you more at the end of this meeting. And we're also planning an in-person in Baton Rouge. We exist to help spread awareness on the profession of project management and connect our members and guests to people who have great ideas to where we can all continue to learn. Ahmed, context for this communication that we have tonight, Ahmed actually reached out to me, and talked about his interest in speaking for our chapter. Ahmed's had previous experience with being on a board of a PMI chapter before, so he understands what it takes to keep that running. He's also had professional experience as a project management manager in several different industries, and also networks with different professional speakers as well and leadership coaches.
Yep.
And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Ahmed.
There you go. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Ahmed Zouhair. So I'm going to be guiding you today through the unlock project management skills to land your dream job and maybe a promotion if you're ready for one. I guess the clicker stopped working, but we can get it. We don't need it. I'm going to shut it down and restart it.
It's usually what always fixes technology. It's like just.
See, Tanya, that's why I always have you load them on.
Exactly. Well, good. Oh, I got two opens. That's why. Don't need to save it. Okay. Please do not try this at home, okay? All right. It's funny, this happens all the time.
There we go.
Perfect. So to make it in slide
now.
Perfect. So welcome everybody. Like what Tanya was saying, I've got about 20 years experience in project management, and really it's been a great experience. And as you can see from this session, you may see something that you like, use it. And if you see something that you don't like, try not to use it. This is what I do when I attend my sessions. So just, take advantage. And this is one of my favorite quotes because we're going to talk about perspective and purpose. If you think you can or you can't, then you're right, right? And let me move this away from me. This is really a quote that was by Edward Murrow back in the 60s. It says, tell them what you're going to tell them. How many of you heard of this quote? I want to change this quote to something different. So my quote is different because I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you. Then you're going to tell me what I told you because I want you to connect the dots, okay? Because we connect the dot, looking backward, right? And learn from the past and prepare for the future. So let's start with my word for today is grateful, gratitude. Let's put in your chat, what is your word for today? And Tanya, you want to call it out. And the key here is just to get you started, to get you warmed up. And you're going to see that like we have a lot of things in common.
Blessed from Andrea. And Lakita said grace. Motivated from Kevin. Patience from Robert. Learned from Vivek. Raven said perseverance. Favored. And whoever that is on the iPhone, let us know who it is so we can type your name in the chat. Joy from Stella. Charles said grateful. Driven from, I think I said driven from Andrea.
As you can see, we have a lot of things in common. And I don't know if you've seen the iron triangle has changed. And to me, it really an overlap. If you think about, strategy and business management is part of the business acumen. Leadership is part of the soft skill or power skills. And technical project management is one of the ways of working. And technical project management is really depending on your line of business. For example, you could be in IT, in oil and gas, in healthcare, and you really need to know more about that line of business. That's really what's important. Plus, you got to use your project management skills, your problem solving, your communication skills, negotiations, power skills, soft skills, and they keep changing names, which is great. So take advantage of these resources. This is the QR code. Feel free to take a picture or whatever. And I want to share with you, like what Tanya was saying, I was a board member back in 2011 to 2013. And that's what I met Lee in Kansas City, Region 6, with chapter, Southeast, I think. Yeah. And really, what I want to share with you, I've really learned a lot by networking. That's what I got my certification, more certification, and I was able to improve my personal professional development. And I was able to teach with the Austin PMI chapter that led a job with the Austin UT Professional Development Center, Austin Community College, and University Adjunct Instructor, and so many other. So you got to start somewhere. We're going to talk about that. And so hashtag volunteering.
I did want to mention something on that slide, and this is just kind of for our member context. You did share it with me before, and I went through now, just for true transparency to all of the group. Baton Rouge is it's a smaller chapter right now, and we're working on some of our volunteer resources. So right now we've got a smaller board that's getting things kicked back off after COVID. So some of these different things like the PMP exam prep courses, we have shared some resources on our website, but there's some different things that maybe our chapter is not able to do right now, but we're working on getting there.
Right.
So transparency.
Exactly. So hashtag volunteering. And if you don't have a mentor, well, first of all, if you're not volunteering, please take advantage. It's really highly recommended. And get a mentor is going to help you, guide you. that sense of, being accountable, getting guidance, directions, leadership, support, and so forth. So, and sometimes really, when we don't know what we're doing, we start with research, really. And that's really what happened. And if people like you, they're going to listen to you. And if they trust you, they may offer you a job or promotion. Really important to know that, and have that mindset of getting things done. And sometimes it's just a perspective. We're going to talk about perspective, and keep it simple. We tend to complicate instead of simplifying, because simplicity is really about keeping it simple, and and not that simple, because it takes a lot of hard work that is transparent. And I'll give you an example. For example, the Johnny Ive, Apple designer, the CDO, the chief design officer that was with Apple for almost 20 years, when they were building this iPad, it was nothing but simple. He was saying that, there are thousands of components that have been tested for almost 8 years, for ruggedness, temperature, pressure, and so many other factors. So remember, simplicity is not that simple, because you really have to practice, whatever you're doing. So simplicity is the currency of you, a project manager. Remember, you got to connect the dot looking backward, not forward. And making critical decision and ignore the noises. Sometimes you're going to be, you're going to hear something you don't like, or, you're going to be challenged, in your workplace or in school or whatever you're doing. Just ignore that noise and keep going. We're going to talk about the purpose, the strategy, and the outcome in the team. And basically, let's start with an assessment. So, for example, I'd like for you to put from scale from 1 to 10 and each question. So if you score 100, put it in the chat. If you score 90, put it in chat, or 60, 80, and I need to know which one. So this is kind of like your personal SWOT analysis, your strength, weaknesses, if you will. So let's go ahead and get started. And Tanya or Jared is going to let me know, your score, and I might need a volunteer to tell us how much they got. This is really, if you go to an interview, they might ask you, what are your 3 strengths? Then you can say those. And they might ask you, what are your 3 weaknesses? And this is really a good place where you can explore those weaknesses and talk about them, with no problems.
Does anybody have their score yet? And I'll announce.
Somebody might have a perfect score, 100.
That would not be me.
I think Lee should have 100. Lee, can you put 100 down the chat?
Oh, sure.
Let's see.
Maybe.
Maybe 99.
So Robert says 68. Charles says he's lacking in 7, 8, and 4. And I like a person that can admit that they're not perfect in every area. Jason Roloff's 73, not so much.
Not doing it for me.
7, 8, and 4 for Robert. Can you tell us 7, 8, and 4? So 7 is branding, 8 is sales, which is a good point, and 4 is social media. And I think I have the same problem. And the only way you can compensate for those is showing up to social media workshops, taking classes, books, YouTube, and so many other resources that are available today. Anybody else, Tanya?
Let's see. Andrea has 50-50. Efrion says he needs to work on 10, 4, 2, and 7. Elizabeth has 71. Jason says 7, 8, and 4, the lowest for him as well.
7, 8, and 4.
Is 80.
Oh my goodness, we're not salespeople. I see.
Muhammad is a 60. But that's true. And it's part of, like, with the sales thing, or even the convincing and negotiating. It doesn't have to, like, necessarily be outward sales. I sort of think of, like, influence, that's a way to pull people in. And even on our projects, having that ability to market and brand it and get others uplifted is part of like the project champions. When things are going bad, it's like, keep going, keep moving this.
Right. Leadership, negotiations,
Right.
influencing. Yeah, that's leadership. Yep.
Paul said 51. Carla said 70. Efren said he's
Nobody-
introverted.
Perfect score.
That's, huh?
Nobody has a perfect score.
Nobody has a perfect score. We've got honest project managers in this chapter.
Well, the good news, there is always room for improvement. Just remember that this is where you do your gap analysis and go work on your weaknesses. It's really important. And this is you as a project manager in any environment that you're in, whether you're in an association like PMI or in workplaces or in organizations. Just remember, who are you interacting with? Who are you interfacing with on a daily or monthly basis? That's very important. So I want you to think about your environment before I give you the answers, whatever it is. Think about it for a second and put it in the chat. Who do you interact on a daily basis besides your insignificant others, your kids, and so forth? I think I interact with, founders and CEO and president of companies, or business development, or marketing, stakeholders, customers. And the key here is you got to set expectations and understand what they expect from you and vice versa. And whenever I start a new job, I always want to do one-on-one with these team members. Like I say, I want to brainstorm and, and get some information about what you do and how do you interact with our department, what are the expectations and so forth. So it's really basic, but we forget about doing it, especially if you start a new job or new transition or new promotions, because you're drinking from the fire hose and you forget to go back to the basic. Just go for a coffee and start brainstorming about the role and responsibility and so forth. So remember that. Just keep it simple, okay? So let's get started, okay? How many of you, Alima, you might know this person, Irene Sota. Anybody from Hungary? She was a famous singer, actress. She's got a beautiful voice. But unfortunately, with this perspective, nobody knows her, right? So I looked up Sota, which is really a mischief related to children, right? So Sota for me, so remember Irene Sota. For me, Sota means purpose, strategy, outcome, team, and application. That's her last name. So remember that. So, and we really have been challenged today. The market is shrinking. If you think about FANG, the Facebook, the Apple, the Amazon, in fact, Facebook, who bought, Instagram, that support more than 300 or 400 customers or subscribers, if you will. And there is only 14 people that are supporting that huge platform. So think about the market, or Uber, which is really, let me move you guys. Sorry, guys, I need to move your pictures, they're blocking me. So Uber, for example, you just gotta use your phone and you use your application. So it's a service that doesn't require nothing. Same thing with Airbnb or Facebook that are selling you a service with no content. Anybody have questions? Take a picture of this slide. I think understanding industry trends. Put in the chat, what are some of the industry trends that you expect in the future? Like, for example, in my book, I think and sometimes questions are more important than answers. What are some of the trends that you see for next 10, 20 years, that are related to technology and so forth? So besides, cybersecurity or metaverse, or telehealth, or, put in the chat, what do you think some of the industry trends related to your job or your line of business that may affect you long-term or short-term? What do we got, Tanya? Lee?
A, artificial intelligence and PM tasks from Ephraim. I
Machine
said
learning?
resource constraints just with the supply chain. I know a lot of project managers who are in very technical projects and they're losing a lot of developers. And so they're having to calibrate really, really, really quickly to a lot of different roles. Low code, no code. So PMI's got the citizen developer. Julie says potential single payer issue system. Vivek says frequent change in the business model. Jason said automation.
Yes. So you got it, right? So you got to
global competition. And then Lee says use of lie detectors in personal conversations.
Yes. Lee, what did you say?
Use of lie detectors in personal conversations.
Everybody's looking at their devices, and there is no more face-to-face. Good point. So remember, questions are very important. And warm-up question again. This session is going to be very interactive. And what are some of the most pressing problems of our time today? Put it in chat. Starting with you, Lee. Lee is the first one because you have experience.
Got inflation cutting into new projects.
Very
And
good.
Lee, what do you think, Lee?
I think he already told us, personal conversations. That's really, we're losing that cultural and social, connection.
Right. And then Jason said, and this might speak to that, it's divisions between people. And it's tough. I mean, there were a lot of divisions in person, but I think sometimes people, it's a bit alienated at times, and so much apart that we misread context.
Right?
Lakita said doing more with less. Robert said lack of general education of the public. And then Vivek said enable swift digital transformation of business and taking a mortgage to go to the gas station. And then Joe said increased remote working conditions resulting in a loss of human interactions.
Very good. Very good. So I was listening to Freakonomics. I don't know if you heard this podcast, really a great podcast. And one of the questions that was asked, most pressing problems that was asked to an elementary school where a 12-year-old came home to his dad. His dad was a doctor, and he said, "Dad, what are some of the most pressing problems of our time that you're facing?" And the doctor spent 2 weeks to think about it, and he's in healthcare, and he found out that compassion does not exist in the healthcare system, and end up writing a book and really compassionate economics. So just remember that a question can raise a lot of answers. So by asking the right questions, figure it out. So what are some of the most scarce resources in our life? This is a tough one.
Time, empathy, time.
Very good.
Clarity. Sometimes I'm going to add clarity.
Well, you said resources, people.
Well, that's okay. That's true. That's true.
That's very
Sometimes the people aren't very clear.
You
And I
forget-
probably am
Forget
one of those
that.
people at
People
times.
are one of the most scarce resources. You can have automation, you can have technology, you can have tools, technique, but if you don't have people, you cannot go nowhere. So remember, you are very scarce. You are very important.
Andrea said youth, patience, and then resources with
Your
applicable
health.
skills.
Your health is very important. Your mindfulness, emotional intelligence, all of these are very important questions. What is your superpowers that helps you transition? Excuse that typo. So it's usually, being sane, being healthy, being positive, resilient, and we're going to talk about those shortly. Can you put in the chat what is the difference between management and leadership? In 2 words. No, I'm just kidding. Or if somebody want to get off the mic, I mean, the mute and tell us, they can.
Yeah. I'm off the mic, but I'd love to give the opportunity to somebody else in the group to
Yes.
read the chat and share what they think the difference between management versus leadership is. I can volunteer people. Julie DeSalle, I'm going to ask you today if you'd be willing to comment on that.
Yeah, so I mean, oftentimes a manager will lead so that they tell them what to do, whereas a leader will hire people that will tell him or her what to do. You hire people that are smarter than you, and you let them do what they need to do. Managers typically, you have micromanagers and you have different types, but leaders let the people do what they've been trained or hired or what their expertise is.
Perfect. That's good. So it's exactly that, is getting people to do things and maybe doing it with them as a manager if you're more involved. Leadership is really about, being more supporting and inspiring and, helping people, going into the right directions, and really the idea here is you want to be in that happy medium between being a manager as a project manager. You're going to have to be in that happy medium between management and leadership. And managers delivers, back in the days, we say result, but now we change that to outcomes, more, KPIs and OKRs and so forth. Leaders develop, to me, leaders, not just teams. They develop leaders, and that's really what's changing today. Just remember, your thoughts can lead to attitudes, which lead to words, actions, habits, become characters that would determine your destiny. So these are really very important leadership skills for a CEO, for a project manager, and so forth. Remember, as a project manager, you're going to have the tendency, again, to be in situations where you have to be resilient, obsessed to get things done, and sometimes you got to be flexible. You got to listen, being adaptable, to changes. So again, always try to be in that happy medium so you can get the things done. And remember, can somebody put in chat what is the missing word from Jeff Bezos' quote? This is really you as a project manager. What is it that people will say about you when you're not in the room?
I'm not sure on the answer without reputation.
Very close. Yeah. Anybody else?
You are.
Or
Inspiring.
your brand.
Your value.
Your brand, your value, that is your brand, which is your story. Oli is a great project manager, professional. His contribution to PMI and community worldwide is amazing. That is his brand. I mean, he doesn't have to be here. We can talk about him. And same thing for Julie or Tanya or Jared, anybody in the room. So just remember that social media is becoming the go-to for jobs. No kidding. It is really, you don't have to meet any, there is a lot of information on social media if you know where to go, plus networking and so forth. How many of you put in chat one, if you heard of the chaos report from Standish group? Put one if you heard of them, put two if you haven't. If you haven't, make sure you read their publications. It's based on 5 years. It's a huge data set that has more than 50,000 projects in IT and software development. And what they found out, the company spent more than $140 billion, and the chaos report for 2020 shows that these projects failed. Most of them failed or challenged. For example, challenge is a project was completed but never been used, or maybe it was on hold, failed, maybe it was over budget or behind schedule, or didn't meet the requirement needed by the customers. So what do you think in the chat caused these projects to be challenged and failed? Put in the chat. I want to see your engagement and,
While they're putting that in the chat, I'd like to call on another volunteer.
Yes.
Gary Merrifield, it's your turn. You were the only person that put a 1 that indicated that you've read the chaos report.
Yes.
If I could you tell us just a brief observation about the report and what led you to read it?
Sorry, I'm trying to get off mute here. Actually, I saw the report and just read a little bit about it. To tell you the truth, anytime you see something called chaos report, that term alone just was enough for me to at least kind of scan through a little bit. But I was just amazed at what they were talking about there. And as I read through it, it's just like, okay, well, first I was amazed and I was like, this is my life. So I don't know. I didn't read the whole thing, but I read just enough to know that, hey, what I do and the environment I work in isn't unique.
Exactly.
Right.
What kind of environment
Thank
do
you.
you want to share with us? Is it oil and gas? Or?
I work as in consulting, and mainly implementation of a PPM tool, but I also do things like PMO work, helping companies establish PMOs, or in the case that they have like 8 PMOs, how to merge them together and things like that. So I see a little bit of everything from total chaos to some level of maturity, but there's often common themes I see throughout all of my customers.
Wonderful. So yeah, that's really a good point. So chaos report has a lot of great information that's going to help you. But for me, what I like about it, they were right, their criteria, they were right on the money. For example, being a good place or a good team, sponsor, flexible, and so forth. So if you recall, GE failed in 2008, and Lee, you might remember this. GE was one of the biggest companies of mechanical and electrical supply, like from your washer and dryer and vacuum, Lee, if you know, right? They were making vacuums back then. And they lost almost $540 billion in 2008, almost 42% of their stock market. So what do you think happened? Again, it's the same problems. It's being at the wrong place, wrong time, financial market meltdown, 2008, team retention, leadership. They're not willing to change because they were making money for many, many, many years. But the result is they got challenged competition and they have to fall down. So if you think about other examples, put them in the chat. So I always remember Nokia is one of them, and CNN Plus that just folded 3 weeks ago because CNN Streaming Plus, they were targeting young people, but CNN is for old folks. So they have different customer, base, and that's why it didn't go well, So think about what companies you think failed for these reasons, being at the wrong time, wrong place, wrong leadership, bad teams, not willing to change. Oh, I remember Blockbuster. Remember, there is only one left in Canada, I heard. And, if you think of any other companies, put it in chat. And that would be a good case study for you to learn more about.
We've got Kodak and Xerox, Enron, IBM, Radio Shack, Timex.
MCI, you remember MCI? That was competing with AT&T. back in the days. Yeah. So we're going to talk about perspective. What is perspective is really a point of view, and you should really know about it because as a project manager, having a perspective and it gets kind of like communication channels from one perspective, 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, to more points, it gets more complicated, right? Just like communication channels. So have a good perspective, kind of like what we do with PMI today. Most of us, they start with self-actualization by volunteering, supporting, mentoring, helping each other. And to me, that trend has changed today. You don't need to be rich and start from the bottom of the hierarchy, the pyramid of hierarchy of needs. So I think having a different perspective, you can start from self-actualization and move up ladders. This is another different perspective that I see, and I just want to share it with you. Another thing is think about some of the games from the power of metaphors. So, for example, if you look at this picture, what do you see? What do you think about when you see this picture? And put it in the chat.
I'm getting a lot of feedback on ideas
Good ideas, right?
and progress.
Progress. I like that. Energy, right? Imagination.
My smart devices, which I use to turn off and all my lights, remain bright in the midst of darkness. I love that.
See how creative you become, because really a picture is worth 1,000 words, but an experience is worth 1,000,000 pictures. Again, same thing. Think about a picture that you see somebody surfing on the beach. It makes you think about what? Vacation, happiness, freedom, autonomy, whatever it is. So pictures are a good place to start being creative. A warm-up question here, and get ready for this one. This is very important. It needs a lot of attention. Imagination, put one if you agree with this one. Imagination is more important than knowledge. And put two if you disagree. I personally agree that imagination is more important than knowledge. And here is why. What do you see in this picture? And put it in the chat. I think Lee is ready to tell us. Or Julie.
I feel like this is a Rorschach test.
Well, I'm sorry, what did you say?
What are those dot tests that they look at?
Yeah, this one. Yeah, that's really what we're looking at. Tanya, what do you see?
Joe chimed in with a skull, and I'm seeing teeth on this bottom left-hand side and an eye. I don't know
Very
what's
good.
on the right, but for some reason I'm seeing the same thing, a skull.
Very good. So I'll give you a hint. So, that's another perspective. So do you see a cow? Okay.
Cow.
Now, do you see a cow, everybody? There's the ears, the nose, eyes, and that is really your new perspective. We tend to see patterns, that we got used to do, but if you got to look deeper, have that power of metaphor, have the power of perspective. By giving you more data, I gave you it's a cow, then it should help you. That's really exactly the perspective that I was looking for. So make sure you have a perspective as a project manager, really. Let's get going. We got purpose. A purpose really the answering the question why. And if you really don't know where you're going, you might end up somewhere else. And purpose is really something that has a feeling. It's something that you share with your culture, with your tribe, with your organization to accomplish certain goals. During or before or after the accomplishment of the goal, whatever it is. That is really the purpose. And a lot of people, of course, when you talk about purpose, you talk about, the vision, mission, goals, and guiding principles. So we're going to talk about the ikigai, which is really the reason for being. And ikigai really, you talk about what is good, for me, or what do you like to do? What do you love, but you feel a sense of usefulness, or what the world needs, but you feel broke, like a job, right? You need more money, or what do you get paid for, but you feel the sense of whatever, right? So always remember that, think about what you like to do versus things that makes money versus things that you do versus things that matter. Okay. And this is really what purpose leads, obviously, to the vision, which is something that should pass your test of time. So maybe in 5 years, you want to be a program manager professional, maybe a program director, maybe a CEO of your organization, whatever it is, your vision should pass that test of times. And we're going to talk about linear versus non-linear career paths. And mission is the action, and the goal is to-do list. Now, we're not an MBA class. They just really keep it simple here. And guiding principle is that social and professional responsibility that we have at PMI. It's they overlap with your local, social, cultural, community and countries. It's be honest, be ethical, do the right things, and that's really what matters. And really, values are again something that are feeling, they're human, they're very important. And strategy is really what are the resources that I need to get this purpose, this vision, mission, goals, and guiding principle done. So a purpose for me is this kid, Stephen Wiltshire. He was 3 years old and he was diagnosed with autism. And really, when he was a kid, he asked his parent for a pencil and piece of paper, and the rest is history. He was a child Picasso. A 45-minute flight on a helicopter over Dubai, where Lee's going in July, and 45 minutes on a helicopter. He spent 5 days, and he was able to draw that from photographic memory with skylines, with spacing, with height, windows, everything, and less than 5 days. So, and he's got a gallery in London. So Stephen's purpose is really create a communication and share, skyline, that building that don't change with the community that he visited. Or another story is about, three in a construction project where there were 3 handymen. They were working and they were asked, "What are you guys doing?" So the first one said, "Hey, I'm building a wall." Or the second one said, "I'm, breaking stone." Or the third one said, "Well, I'm building the house of God." So if you think about these 3, there is a difference between these 3 men. Statistically speaking, they will have the same pay, the same brick, the same place, the same time, the same, everything is the same. But the only difference is that the first one has a job, the second one a career, but the third one has a purpose. So if you recall back in '69, and Lee was dead out there. So the PMI founder, they sat over a dinner table and think about creating a PMI chapter. So that is a purpose that passed the test of time, and it's still ongoing. It has the vision, mission, goals, and guiding principles, and so forth. So what is your purpose? That is really what you should think about. A purpose can create a sense of trust. It can unify and motivate team members. And, a purpose for me is whenever I work with organization, just like Robert, I was a consultant, we always think about product and features and functionality, well, we don't think about the end goals of that product. Who's going to be using that product? Which community? Is it a hospital? Is it a mobile application that's going to help stranded, users during hurricane or during COVID, or is going to save me time, create more opportunities for employees to have a life balance. So think about the purpose from the end result, the outcome of that product and services. And before you start working, just understand, what are we trying to accomplish before you jump on the next project, and deadlines, the budget, schedule, risk, and so forth. Understand what is the purpose, what is the goals and guiding principles. So what is your purpose? Put it in the chat if you have one. It's a load of questions, I think, but I would really like somebody to volunteer, go unmute and tell us what is your purpose from your perspective that we talk about. Assuming now that you can see the cow, you can see the perspective from your endpoint. Tanya, you want to call on anybody?
I'm looking through. Let's see. Charles Burton, like to call on you. And I know some people may be muted in a way. So let me see. Paul Skinner. All right. I'm going to read some of the responses in the chat. So
Good.
Lakita said she's struggling with this. Lakita, I understand. Sometimes that's a struggle for me too, to get a very clear direction on it. Julie says that her purpose in her role as senior PM is to improve the lives of seniors and their healthcare needs. And she loves being in healthcare. And then Casey is limitless possibilities ahead for meaningful contributions and added value. And then Angel says to create positive change through innovation.
Wonderful. See, it goes beyond than just talking about the project. When you have that purpose, the end goals, it makes you want to just cause, which is the vision, may get up every morning and go to work. And that's very important to have that mindset of the purpose. Now we talk about the process. The process is really make sure you're always in that happy medium between the people, processes, and technology. Understand that, design thinking is really a process of being creative and problem solving, using imagination, innovation, and being creative, of course. So imagination, like I said, is more important than knowledge. And how many of you, put one if you heard the double diamond model or framework? That's really, I like this one because it has 4 Ds: discover, define, design, and deliver. And discover, really, we're going to talk about, this is really, you're kind of like daydreaming, you're brainstorming, what do you want to do, whatever it is that you want to do. So you might have a lot of choices, you might have a lot of problems, a lot of issues you want to solve, and that's where you're diverging. So that's what that D stands for. You're in a divergence mode, and when you identify that single problem or that single career or that decision, that path, you're converging into that single point, and then you're going to start designing and building that path, so you can go and deliver it and implement it and execute on it. So really, I like this design because it starts with the strategy definition and to the strategy execution. So when your strategy definition in your career or your promotion or a transition to a better position, think about discovery mode. What do you need? What are the market? What are the trend technology that I'm interested in? Department I want to go to, what I can see that there is better future, and research trend, interviews, observations. And then once you identify those, define that problem, maybe single problems, define the scope and, design it and execute it. Again, put it on a schedule. Schedule can vary. It's iterative. It can go from 4 weeks to 10 months. It's up to you. So again, it's really having mapped in a schedule and put it on your, post-it note on the wall every day, looking at it, and you should be able to see it. Jobs to be done, hashtag jobs to be done. Really, this is really a question you should ask. What do you want the jobs to be done? Look it up. It's really good by, it's what do you want as you, what do you want, as a product, what do you want to do for your customers? Think about you as a product or service. It's very common. This is by Kristen Christensen from, I think MIT Institute. So look up hashtag jobs to be done. And, this is an example. And really, what do people hire your product to do for them? That's really how you should ask yourself. Think about yourself as a product. What do you want them to do with you? Are you going to work there for 6 months, then leave the company? Or do you have a good purpose, good vision that you want to go help, like in healthcare, for example, help senior citizen, or make a difference in your community if you're volunteering with PMI and so forth. So that's really a different perspective from product management. That and PMI, we don't talk much about product management, and I think product manager touch every department of the organizations. It touches, sales, marketing, user experience, and so many other departments. And understand that, process is basically ask the right questions, from the desirability, from the viability, feasibility perspective. Can we do this? Should we do this? Or do they want this feature or this service added to their product and services? So it's not about the product, it's about the story. Seth Godin, for somebody, for earlier questionnaires or assessment, remember Seth Godin is a guru of marketing and digital marketing. So check him out. Really got some good publications and some really great YouTube webinars that you can watch. And really owning your story is the bravest things you can do. These are some good examples. One of my friends, on-demand CMO, I asked her about what are some of the good brands that you like, and she sent me these. Like Zappos is a great company to look into. They're customer obsessed. They were a shoe company, and Amazon, just a shoe company that was bought by Amazon for almost more than $1 billion in 2015 or something like that. So just from Southwest Airlines is a great company, and Apple and so many others. So understand their brand because it's going to help you, and product focus, because if your product focus, conversation is going to end, but you can carry more conversation when we talk about purpose. You go beyond product and services. Very important to understand that features and functionality. Purpose focus gets you further, and you build that relationship. Like Zig Ziglar said, people trust you, they're gonna do business with you because you're talking more about the purpose, the vision, mission, goals, and guiding principle. So sometimes remember, questions are more important, and understand being at the right place. So if you're being in the top city with great opportunities, back in the days, I think it still used to be Silicon Valleys. Now it's maybe Texas, Austin, maybe Baton Rouge. We should all go to Baton Rouge, and
And Lafayette too.
Yeah, it's close, Louisiana. So too many hats. Project managers do tend to wear so many hats. They get involved in the according to the technical skills, the power skills, the process skills, so try to focus on what's relevant, what's important. Think about certifications. A lot of people have so many certifications. Think about which one is going to be a good fit that was going to help you with your career and transition. 15-second rules. To me, 15-second rules is you can say 15 words in less than 15 seconds that a 15-year-old can understand with no problems. That is very important. Too many plans. Having too many plans is not good sometimes, because sometimes you can have a backup plan maybe just in case your first plan failed. But too many choices. Having too many choices. If you hit a fork, take it, because sometimes you're going to have to make decisions. You're going to make options and prioritize on which directions you're going to go, because like you said, time is money, and sometimes there are circumstances you got to make quick decisions. And if you hit the fork, always take it. Do not think about it. Too many tools. What I suggest by having too many tools, I really want to share with you some of my favorite, and really cherry pick which one is going to work for you. It's going to help you, and keep it simple, because once you use it, you forget that you're using it. And this is really what's happening in the work environment today. My favorite one is maybe this balance scorecard. Because I like it because of the questions it asks. From customer perspective, how should we appear to our customers? So try to ask these questions for your project. Or financially, are you going to go out of business tomorrow if this project is launched? Or do you have some internal processes in place, some personal professional development for learning and growth? So make sure you understand that that's aligned with your vision and strategy. Same thing, we did the strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, threats earlier. So for me and Jared, we have the same thing. So maybe we need to brush up on sales and being enthusiastic, and on social media, and maybe marketing, stuff like that. So put your weaknesses out there and find the gap analysis and go improve on them. Very simple. The skill matrix, you want to be at the top right quadrant. Focus on more valuable but rare. Remember, I was asking you, what are some of the good trends that we see in the future? Maybe you should tap into those, and that's really what you should be in, because everything else is saturated today, and again, time management. We all get hammered with emails and other emails, then other text, phone calls, and so forth. Focus on what's relevant and go do it right now. This is the Eisenhower matrix that was used by Stephen Covey later on. And basically, anything that's important, do it now. Anything that's not important, delegate it or dump it, remove it from the plan, or postpone it till later on, and put it on the schedule. 6 sticky notes to do on the wall. Look at them every day and put them on schedule. If it's 2 weeks, put 3 in doing this week, their progress. Then when it's done, date and time stamp, and go for it. That's that. Another good feature, work breakdown structure. I like it because it's a communication tool that really helps you remember a picture is worth 1,000 words, and you can help you understand what are you trying to do and how you're going to do it. So, for example, I'll give you a house as an example because we all know what do you need to build a house, from the design, structure, utility. But in a new job, I would start with maybe research. For example, Google research, maybe library, maybe a market, blogs, and so forth. Artifact. We all know the job description and target companies. Your cover letter references, and also what is your objective? I want to be a project management professional. That's your positioning statement. Exit statement. A lot of people they need to understand it. Your exit statement. What's happened? Why you're here? So exit statement. I got laid off as a result of COVID, and let me tell you what I can do for you. You don't want to sound like talk bad about your companies or your managers, or my companies had a merger. As a result, my job was eliminated. But let me tell you what I can do for you, and with my new skill set and so forth. So being positive, marketing, branding, social media, positioning, and networking. Very important. This is one of the tools about risk assessment. It's good to have, but it's not really that important. So what is your story? What is your brand? And put it in the chat. Objective key results. How many of you heard of OKR? Really, OKR means just objective and key results, where objectives outline a desired outcome. And I really highly recommend the book. And I think the book is, I'm going to show you an example of OKR. The book is Measure What Matters by John Doerr. And a good OKR for me is maybe, what are my target 5 companies or 5 departments that are showing some growth in my organizations? So when I move to work with them, so be ready to transition. Land 5 interviews, maybe land that job, connect with key clients. And speed is, in this terms, is really how fast are you executing your tasks. It's not about time or anything. It's how fast, velocity, it's kind of like the e-commerce for Amazon. One click and they already charge your credit card. You go to any other e-commerce website like Walmart or, and Target to shop, and you end up buying at Amazon because they make it so easy for you. They make it so easy to execute and so forth. So communication to me is when I'm not talking. I don't know about you, but really what people say about you when you're not speaking. So this is really very important. And it'd be a good idea to ask your colleague or your team members how they see you when you're not speaking. And this is just tools to talk about collaborations and questions. The team. You can't do anything without the user team. And everybody knows the team development cycles, forming, storming, norming. And to me, I think the hardest things when you're doing a project, the hardest things is forming and of course, storming, because conflict is good. If there is trust, we're going to talk about that. And performing, that's where things settle down and everybody mind their own business because they are executing. They already have the direction. And one of the projects by Google that talks about psychological safety, this is the high performing teams, talks about, a lot of team players, they believe in, they feel vulnerable. So they feel that psychological safety and they feel comfortable, dependable. They understand the roles and responsibility because they have clarity. They want to make an impact, that's Google culture. And they want to create a meaning, right? They all say that. But trust is really the foundation. It's kind of like bottom up. Start with trust. Conflict is good. It makes us more committed, more accountable, and the result will follow. So make sure you read that book. Or maybe, there is Audible. You can listen to it as well. 8 trust, clarity, compassion, character, and so forth, right? And you are the curator of this professional management discipline, because really you are the legacy. You build skylines, you build data centers, you build services and product that with feature functionality that helps a lot of people, a lot of stakeholders. And I want you to think that you are the creator to bring the best out to our community. And that's really what you should think about, that you're thinking to bring the best. And the best way to predict the future is to invent it. And, and there is no honor of them supporting you guys and build the future. To make the future better, and make sure you hang out with the right people, because if you hang out with 5 great people, you might be the 6th one. Again, do you see a cow now? Put 1 if you see the cow. Put 2 if you don't. If you do, or you don't, just keep looking until you find it. And you remember PSOTA? What does PSOTA stand for? Purpose, perspective, strategy, outcome, team, application. So go out there and apply what you learned. This is about an application of what we learned about the perspective, purpose, strategy, and processes and, frameworks and, teams, purpose, strategy, outcome, team. And the key here is putting it together is you go out there and apply it, because application is very important. Connect with me if you will, and resources, and we'll see you next time. Questions?
Thank you so much, Ahmed. I thought this was great.
I think we
And,
make it more engaging and interactive, so that's why we might not have any questions. But if you do, feel free to shoot them to Tanya, and I'll follow up with her and on them, and or connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to answer your questions. And this is
great.
a great event. Thank you, Tanya, and thank you, Jarrett, and the team.
Thank you. And we've still got a few minutes before we
Yes.
conclude, for questions, and then just kind of light announcements on my end. So one thing I always do, and I always repeat, just in case it's missed in the chat, is that the PDUs will be dispersed for members of the Baton Rouge chapter within 3 to 5 business days. And for guests of the chapter, I did put the code in the chat box, but it's C10677. W as in Wayne, J as in Jack, J as in Jack, J as in God. So that's you can report that on pmi.org. And then just a couple of very quick announcements on the next things we've got coming up. We've got an in-person meeting, which is going to be next Thursday at Opportunity Machine located in Lafayette. It's limited to 30 people. And so I know that's a local thing. Destin Ortega, who's the director of Opportunity Machine and helps different business startups, is going to be presenting on different value proposition canvases. And then coming up in
Can I
July, we've got Wayne Lasavio, who's on the line. Wayne's with Community Coffee. He's going to be presenting for us on July 19th, which is a Tuesday. This will be in Baton Rouge. We are determining if we're going to be at Drusilla or possibly bin 77. We're looking at some different venues and opportunities, so that information will be communicated to the group soon. And then just bookmarking the date for the anniversary on September 15th, and more information coming.
I didn't take a little too much alcohol with me.
Why?
Okay. When is
Sorry.
for the community?
Dude, this is the first time I've been drunk in like 6 months.
That's funny. How much did you take?
6 months. Okay.
So,
Oh, boy.
Tanya,
Well, it's not going to be an open, it'll be open more like you adult yourself, and we're not going to be liable or
Right.
anything, but
So-
it'll be fun.
Tanya, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Community Coffee, is that the owner? Because we have Community Coffee from Louisiana and Texas, so it's a huge. I've been drinking for a long.
Wayne, would you love to paint context? Wayne is actually their applications manager, but I'm going to give him a chance to talk.
I wish I was the owner. I'd be a lot more rich. No, I work in the IT department there. I'm one of the IT leaders, and I've been there about 10 years. So it is a great company, great products. I'm really proud to work for them, and I'm really excited to share some ideas with you guys in a couple weeks.
And they sell it at HEB, which is one of the biggest grocery store in Texas.
Yep.
Amazing.
Getting really big in Texas. That's right.
We actually had a whole lot of synergy with Texas too, which is great. And I think some of that got started when Kevin Martin, who he had been part of I think he lives in San Antonio, but part of Dallas chapter, and maybe El Paso. He spoke for us in 2021, and we started getting a lot of virtual attendees from Texas as well. And that is really translated. We've done a lot with the Dallas chapter as well. That's part of the Brandon land that we're going to bring. So I think that's really exciting too, as a group, because we're no longer just specifically bound by geography anymore. And on these sessions virtually, for me, it's great to bring in people from different locations to help kind of spread ideas outside of our locale. And then locally, we love getting local speakers too, and they don't have to be huge keynote speakers. Jared has spoke before, I've spoke before the organization before, and that really wasn't something that we had done all the time in our spare time. It was just kind of a challenge to put ourselves out there. So if there's anybody in this group locally that ever has that interest, can always reach out to us, and we're happy to share ideas, and we're happy to be kind of the cheerleaders and encouragers in your corner too.
I just want to share with you that Tanya and Jared, you got to start somewhere. So is the key, you're going to keep improving. I mean, your first speech might not be great, and you're constantly improving, because that's really what it boils down to. So I highly recommend you go out there and start speaking and learning. That's really what it is. There is no, you just be out there, practice, 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 make it transparent.
Absolutely. And one other quick thing that I just wanted to share with the members on here. So as a board, we're going to start trying to share more of the data insights that we get, from our membership base. So if any of you have changed jobs, changed companies, or if your address has changed or anything of that nature, please make sure to update that on pmi.org. That information kind of feeds through to us locally too, because I know a lot of the data that I can pull that's got different industries. There's about 50 of us that have not applicable industry. So sometimes it's good to have the data fresh, and I'll start sharing just those high levels of things. So that way, if somebody's in aerospace or healthcare or IT or just software development, engineering, we can say, hey, right now it looks like our chapter has about 50 in this group, and we can kind of encourage people to connect with one another. And same thing with our Baton Rouge LinkedIn group. It's not made just for me, Jared, Sally, and the board to communicate, and Kim to communicate. It's for the members too. So if y'all got a job opening, y'all have a thought you need to share, please, feel free to share that PM content.
I was going to share with you, we used to have the green dot, blue dot. So a green dot right here program during our, now we're going to start meeting face to face, Tanya. So basically a green dot, maybe somebody who knows about a job in his or her company, share that with the blue dot who's looking for a job. So we were blue dot, green dot, and it created that. And a lot of people found jobs through the chapters. It's amazing because networking, words of mouth. Yeah, I know Tanya. She's a great people. Yeah, it's her brand is, her story is amazing. And that's really, it worked really perfectly in our chapter in Austin back in the days, and I think they're still doing it.
I think that's a good idea, and we'll definitely have to restart some of those efforts. Like I saw a lot of that when we had a Lafayette venue, and I don't know if Cassie and Sally are still on the line, but I remember them really helping with some of that effort too. So it's like we do different pieces and parts, and get there and talk and do the announcements. But you're right, just even having those different identifiers, once we start coming back to face more often, it's a good way to identify that.
Yes. And I want to add on next week, is that next week? The next meeting you have in July for the business model canvas for startup and entrepreneurs.
That's actually June 23rd.
That's a huge presentation, because business model canvas, that's not just for startup, that's for any business. You need to understand that tool. It makes you think about different perspectives from the customers, from the business development partners, and so forth. It's amazing that you understand the template of business model canvas.
And you triggered one quick fun thought on that. Our in-person meetings right now, just to share with people, they're not hybrid. We thought about that, even with coordinating at the new opportunity machine. It's set up for that, but they just moved in over there. So some of the different coordination of having the right number of technology tools pointed in the right direction and steering is a little bit challenging. We're going to need a little bit more practice before we get there. So our face-to-face right now is going to wind up being face-to-face. This particular meeting is being recorded. And Ahmed, I know you had told me before that we do have your permit for YouTube. It will be posted within a couple of days on our website. And I just wanted to ask you, and I mean, this is up to you too, if any of the content can be shared. If not, if it's proprietary, I understand that as well.
Yeah, you can share
So-
anything. I don't care.
Okay.
I was going to say, put in chat if from scale from 1 to 10, what do you think about this presentation? I mean, that would be good to get some feedback and improve. That's really what I always look for, is gap analysis and keep improving.
You covered a lot of ground and you are getting some great scores. I give you 9 because I believe there's always room for improvement. But you covered a lot of different territory. That was great. And I want to remind everybody too, even that virtual series from June the 9th, those recorded sessions, Ahmed was part of that as well. I'll have to go back and watch that on that venue too, because I know each time you see a presentation, it's going to be different just based on the different energy of the people that are involved in it.
Like 9.16.
9 point.
It must be in accounting, it must be in accounting and numbers, That's good. I saved the chat so I can just get a kick out of this from Stacy.
And I can share what you after to. I mean, when we post it online, I think the chat is visible in the recordings as well. And so usually what I do, rather than emailing it to everybody, because again, privacy, but it's just, we wind up putting it on the website and goes through YouTube. And that's where we've got most of our different announcements as well.
So like you said, Tanya, that I'm also members of National Speaker Associations of Boston. And one of the speakers told me, when you ask for feedback, everybody's going to say, yeah, you're great, 9, 10, because they're nice. They're not going to tell, they're lying to you. They're not telling you the truth.
Right.
And he said, ask them, would you want me back in the next event? That's what it was like, yes or no binary, and that's how he determines if he did a good job. Would you refer me? Would you
Yes.
ask for me to come back? That's when he determines, Tom Singer. I don't know if you know him. He told me this. He's a national speaker, with NSA.
Absolutely. So I think you've had great energy and you shared a lot of great content. And I keep thinking of thoughts, and I know Jared's looking at me, but our next virtual, we do have a speaker for that, and that is on our website, is going to be Ruth Pierce. She's very affiliated with PMI as well, sort of a project motivator and champion and author. She's transitioned recently to a LinkedIn teacher. So when we met, she decided that she was going to structure her topic about her project manager roles, her author roles, but how it ultimately led her to this new journey that she's on as a LinkedIn teacher. So that'll be virtual, and that'll be on July the 12th. But I wanted to say thank you all, for engaging with us and keeping in contact. We appreciate this every month. I appreciate you reaching out to me, Ahmed, and I will let y'all know once everything's on our website as well.
Well, thanks for the opportunity, Tanya.
You're very welcome. So.
Okay, well, we'll see you next June the 24th in Lafayette.
Yeah, 23rd. Thank you. You have a good night.
You too.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ahmed. Great job.
All right. Bye.